What is up, Packers fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Draft brought to you by the good folks at Badger State Brewing, right there next to Lambeau Field in beautiful Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm your host and the publisher of Pack Report, Ross Uglem, and today we are talking about breaking the first round wide receiver curse. One of my favorite football players is this entire class, and that would be Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. I think I am saying that right. Buckeye fans, get after me if I'm saying it wrong. I'd like to get it right. Emeka Egbuka. He's awesome, man. Man, he's fun to watch. And it's funny because, right, guys say like he's never even been the best wide receiver on his own team. I don't care. Jeremiah Smith this last year obviously played with Chris Olave early in his career. I get it, right? I understand that whole thing. But man, he's a good football player. And I will say this, and this is the first line in the pros, as far as what I have written down. He's as pro ready as you're going to get at the wide receiver position. Frame, height, weight, speed, and he's advanced technically in his route running. I think he's a day one starter, even for a good team. I thought he was ready last year. I thought he certainly could have been a late first round pick in the 2024 draft, went back to Ohio State. But I got a nice little bag there. And of course, winning the national championship for the Buckeyes in the 12-team playoff, which had to have been thrilling. And I'm sure he's pleased, as I would say his draft stock has not hurt, even though he did get a year older. Excellent in the quick game, both the screen game and the slant game. He is probably quicker than he is fast, but he creates separation in the short area. And that's important in many, many systems in today's NFL. I think he'll be able to get you a slant on 3rd and 3. I think he's going to be good in the tunnel screen game if you're the Chicago Bears, although they now have Ben Johnson to maybe call something a little bit different, but he's good in the quick game. I think he would absolutely destroy teams as a slot receiver. I think he could steal reps outside. I think he's very Greg Jennings in that way. We're probably going to get, I think we gave a Greg Jennings comp for Jalen Royals, but it's very similar, more in a usage style than a play style with Egbuka. And what I mean by usage, also Cooper Kupp, right? Everybody loves Cooper Kupp. Amon-Ra St. Brown, same way. Everybody loves these guys. Everybody treats them as number one wide receivers, and they are. With that said, they are primarily slot receivers who can steal reps outside. I think that's what Emeka Egbuka could be. And if you're Green Bay, maybe that gives you a little bit of pause if you don't feel like you can use them as a full-time Z, because you do have Jaden Reed. And I get that those guys at times would maybe do some of the same things, but I'm more ready to give Egbuka a lot of Romeo Doubs snaps. I'm ready to give Egbuka a lot of Dontavion Wick snaps until I see him not drop the football anymore. And of course, like I said, if you want to use Jaden Reed in the backfield, you want to play some 10 personnel, you want to do trips, you can do all sorts of things with Egbuka and Jaden Reed on the field at the same time. We can get, I guess, more into that when we talk about fit. I'm already getting into fit when I'm in the pros. He's very, very good. Speaking of a pro, after the catch, big time yak guy, super fun to watch in the open field, secures the football, does a good job, but definitely can take a 5-yard slant into a chunky 20-yard gain. He's a fun football player with the ball in his hands. He's what the people who hate the NFL Combine, and yes, I'm talking to you, Owen Reese, call a good football player. Emeka Egbuka is good at football. He understands where to be in a zone. He understands how to beat coverage. He understands when his quarterback is I'm panicking is the wrong word. He understands when his quarterback is in trouble and what he's supposed to do. He can make guys miss in a very smart, efficient way. He's just good at football. Cons. Why do I say he's just good at football? He doesn't look like an elite athlete on film. We will find out, but it might scare a team like the Packers off. I don't see this super crazy athlete when I watch Emeka Egbuka play. I see that when I watch Jeremiah Smith play, right? I see that when I watch him play for Ohio State, not necessarily Egbuka. It doesn't mean that he won't be a very productive guy, but I will say it does limit his ceiling. If it's true, we'll find out if I'm out of my mind when the NFL Combine comes. Most of the elite receivers in the NFL are freak athletes. Go look. It's not just Julio Jones. It's the lot of them. The lot of the top guys are usually 90th percentile or better athletes. And I know that doesn't sound like yeah, duh, of course. Well, a lot of guys are like, hey, it's the underwear Olympics. Those tests don't matter. Sometimes they do, especially when we talk about ceiling and who can truly dominate a game or dominate an NFL season. To me, if I'm breaking the Packers first round, now I sort of am now talking out of both sides of my mouth because I would take Egbuka. But if I'm breaking the Packers' first round wide receiver streak, I would probably want to do it on a guy that I believe can be a top 8 to 10 guy in the league. And that means like Brian Thomas Jr. Is Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars ever going to be a top 8 to 10 guy in the league? I don't know. But he has the athletic ability to do it. And you saw that in how successful he was as a rookie with the Jaguars. Like the ceiling is endless for BTJ. I advocated for Green Bay to look at Brian Thomas Jr. at the pick that they took Jordan Morgan with. But I want that pie in the sky if I'm going to break the Packers' first round wide receiver streak. With that said, you get me a solid 10 to 12 year number 2 wide receiver like Emeka Egbuka at 23 overall, I'm in. So I understand that's talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit. Specifically, we're talking about, when we are talking about the testing, he might be a 4 or 5 guy. I don't see super special deep speed. And again, that limits you. From a ceiling standpoint. Like, look, Devontae Adams didn't have it, but he is almost the exception that proves the rule, right? He had other great things that he did, release package, but other athletic things that were high level, right? I think he had a good explosives, good side to sides. Like, he had things that he did well. He just ran in the 4.5s. You can get away with it. But I think you'd want your number one guy to at least have the ability to get deep, like a Justin Jefferson has the ability to get deep, right? The Justin Jefferson, people think, oh, he's just really good at football. Yeah, he's also like a 9.5 or plus RAS guy. Because Justin Jefferson's so good, I don't know how many people understand what a freak he is. Justin Jefferson is extremely athletic in the underwear Olympics. In the testing side of it, Justin Jefferson is extremely athletic. There's a reason the Packers were enamored with him. And Brandon Ayuk, frankly. The injury history isn't completely clean. Had a big one, I think a lower body one in 2023. Not a big red zone or contested catch player. He's just, you don't throw it up to Emeka Egbuka and hope for the best. And that's not necessarily that important, especially when you get open as much as he does. It does get more important inside the 10. You're not just going to throw him, and I don't like the goal line fade anyway, but you're not going to maybe necessarily target him in a huge way on the goal line. He's maybe not going to be a massive touchdown producer for you. That's it, though. There aren't a ton of cons because he's a super, super clean prospect. Packers fit, ideal fit to me. I think he wouldn't probably be their most talented or explosive receiver. That's, of course, Christian Watson. I think he'd be their bucket getter. Okay. I think he'd be their go-to guy. I think he'd be their go-to guy bucket getter in a way even beyond what Romeo Doubs has been. I think he'd be one of the few receivers in this class that would jump into Green Bay's best 3 immediately. I'm not going to sit here and debate who would sit, but a lot of guys, even the round 2 guys, and I'm talking about maybe a Jaden Higgins, I'm maybe talking about a Jack Besh, maybe talking about a Jalen Royals, I think they would decidedly start the season as wide receiver number 4 and work their way into the rotation behind Wicks, Reed, and Doubs as, of course, Christian Watson gets healthy. I think Egbuka you would put right in the starting lineup. Again, I don't care. I don't care to argue with you about who you think would sit, but I do think Egbuka is one of those guys that would jump right into Green Bay's starting lineup immediately. He's also a kick returner for the Buckeyes with a little bit of punt return experience. Maybe you want to get Jaden Reed off of punt returns. Keyshawn Nixon said he doesn't want to do kick returns anymore. Maybe that's a place he can help you as a rookie in the way that kind of Randall Cobb did. People think of Randall Cobb as a punt returner. Randall Cobb was also a very high-level kick returner. As a rookie, as far as actual fit, we'll talk about tier 1 stuff as we get more information. But from a height, weight, density aspect, yes, I said he's a slot guy who could steal reps outside. He is tall enough and heavy enough historically to be a Green Bay Packer. They will be interested. I just don't know in round 1, and he damn sure is not going to be there in round 2. At least not when Green Bay picks. I mean, I guess if Egbuka goes 33rd, 35th, 36th, I wouldn't be baffled. I'll be pretty darn baffled if he goes 54th to Green Bay. Overall, I give him a solid first-round grade. I think he's an immediate starter. And for me, he is player overall number 20. Guys, buy the Green Bay Draft Guide, promo code DAILY for $1 off. We're going to get going a little bit faster on this one. Do everything you're supposed to do with the Pack a Day Podcast YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your week. And go Pack, go.